Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Captain Matthew Malcolm. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Henry Joseph Brown. Very little is known about the early life of Henry Brown. He originally identified a sister, Bessie, to be his next of kin, but she was later removed in favour of a friend. Several people later testified that he was living as a lodger in Darlinghurst as a young man. His acquaintances knew little of his private affairs, other than that he had no family or close friends. He was often known as Curly, and some knew him as Harry Goodwin. He apparently worked as a brewer and was known as a very quiet boy. There was some suggestion that he was a year or two younger than the age he gave when he entered the army. Henry Brown enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in June 1915. He was originally posted to the 9th Reinforcements to the 1st Battalion, but shortly after entering camp, he was found to be suffering from venereal disease. As a result, he was struck off the roll of the 9th Reinforcements and sent to a VD treatment camp on Milson Island. He was expected to return to the 11th Reinforcements to the 1st Battalion after treatment. Milson Island had a considerable number of young men undergoing treatment for venereal disease at the time Brown arrived. They had a good amount of free time, and illegal two-up schools flourished, with large amounts of money being gambled. With bets worth several weeks' pay not unheard of, rumours of double-headed pennies began to circulate and complaints about cheating arose. On the 19th of January 1916, two men got into a fight over a bet. The following day, a gang of about 40 men supporting one man in the fight approached the other man, Murray, saying it had not been a fair deal the night before. Murray ran for cover on a veranda and was pursued by a growing mob. It is believed that Henry Brown jumped onto the veranda in defence of Murray. At some point, he was struck in the head and knocked backwards off the veranda, landing on his head. There were reports that he was kicked as he lay on the ground. Private Henry Brown died shortly afterwards. Despite the fact that at least one man said he did not know why anyone wanted to kill Brown, who was one of the quietest fellows on the island, nevertheless, the inquest into Brown's death concluded that he was murdered by some person or persons unknown. The judge was scathing of the witnesses to the incident, saying, "I have no doubt whatever that there are a number of men on the island who saw those acts of violence and who know the soldiers who caused them. It certainly lowers one's estimate of human nature among soldiers for it to be demonstrated that there is not one among them on Milson Island who is man enough to come forward and give any evidence as to who caused the death of their comrade. Some of the soldiers who have given evidence are a disgrace to our army, and now that this inquest is concluded, I hope that they will be discharged." The body of Private Henry Joseph Brown was quietly interred in the Anglican section of the Rookwood Cemetery in Sydney, where he lies today. According to his own attestation papers, he was 21 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Joseph Henry Brown, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.